Welcome to the DraftKings defense analysis for Week 8. I'm Jason Gilbo, JGilbo11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J. Clay. You're looking at cash and GPP defenses this week, and overall, I feel like there's a couple top options, but I feel like there's a lot of ones that can go either way.
Trash. These defenses belong in the trash can. That's
very strong take.
And without without the trash bag in it, they just belong at the bottom, like that crap at the bottom of the trash can that you kind of ignore every time you put a new bag in. That's what these defenses are this week.
You paint a very good picture there, Russ. I enjoy it.
So. There's like a little mold, and you're like, well, it's a little mildew, in my trash can. That's fine.
Cash game ones, New York comes in as your top one on the road at Cleveland. Cleveland's on their 92nd quarterback for this year already.
Yeah, Kevin Hogan, an interesting perspective from a prospect point of view. He was supposed to be a top guy, a few years ago. He had Ty Montgomery, he had Devon Cajuste, and a few other guys that were actually pretty good for him. And last year he really lost most of his weapons, didn't look all that great, and fell in the draft. Obviously, certainly has that athletic ability to do well, but I just don't see him being able to throw deep. And that's really the way you crush the Jets here. Jets starting to look a little better. I think this is a week to really zone in on the Jets here in cash games. Like what the Browns do well offensively, if they do anything well, is run the ball with Isaiah Crowell, get some dump offs with Duke Johnson, and get a lot of sort of close to the line of scrimmage passes to Terrell Pryor. That's not going to work against this Jets team. They're going to need a deep threat. And while I like Ricardo Lewis, you're not going to be relying on Ricardo Lewis to lead an offense. So I don't see how the Browns are going to score here. The Jets run defense is very, very good.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you look at the teams that have kind of beaten the Jets so far. Sammy Coates on, monster bombs, Marquise Goodwin on monster bombs. It's just been, it really has been deep targets down through the field. And as you point out, that's just not the Cleveland Browns. Cardinals 2,700 on the road at Carolina. Pretty decent value here for really a team in Carolina that's turned the ball over quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, Cam Newton definitely leads the league in interceptions. Hasn't looked himself pretty much all season. I don't know. I don't see the worry. I mean, obviously Greg Olson's tremendous. Obviously Kelvin Benjamin's tremendous. But beyond that, I don't really, what else is there on that offense? Cam. And he's banged up. He hasn't looked himself all season. At only 2,700, you're looking at an Arizona Cardinals defense that, isn't quite as good out on the road, but they're still a very good defense. They have Patrick Peterson there. He's a good match for Kelvin Benjamin. I think this is a really good matchup for the Cardinals. And, even if the offense is still struggling, they have David Johnson to, keep that time of possession away from Cam.
Yeah, I mean, you look, Patrick Peterson matches up really well with Kelvin Benjamin. You look, they're really good against tight ends. I mean, against Greg Olson, they got enough back there to should limit them. And a pretty nice value here. I mean, pretty good mid price. I mean, that's a big difference from where the Jets are at.
Certainly.
So, GPP defenses, you're looking at Houston, home matchup against Detroit at 3,100.
I love this game for the Texans. This is such a turnaround game. Even before, we were talking about some salary exploitation yesterday. If you haven't checked that out, you should. Nice plug, Russ. But you kind of look at this Houston team. We knew they were going to lose to the Broncos. I don't think anyone was expecting them to win that game yesterday. Detroit looking good at home, has struggled on the road this year a few times, especially against the Bears is the one I'm keying in on. And you just look at this matchup. Detroit's a dink and dunk team. Like, I don't care. Marvin Jones is a good receiver, but he's a possession receiver. He's not a deep threat. Golden Tate's a dink and dunk guy. Anquan Bolden, I love Anquan Bolden, but dink and dunk, dink and dunk, dink and dunk. Even if they get Eric Ebron back, he does bring, an intermediate threat. But overall, I think this is a really good matchup for the Texans. And, Denver had a really good run game. Detroit does not have that. I think this is going to be a really good matchup for the Texans. I expect their offense to rebound as well. I think this is a good potential full game stack for the Texans. So I'm really liking the defense here.
Yeah, I am as well. Moving on to New England here, 3,300 at Buffalo. Looking for a much better game out of the Patriots here, much better than when they faced Buffalo last.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. I mean, this is where things get really gross for me. I don't really like many of the defenses beyond here, but I think if you're looking at upside, without LaShawn McCoy, maybe that run game is a little weaker. And just looking at the weapons offensively, their receivers are just so gross. I mean, I love Justin Hunter as a prospect. He's not, even a number 2 in the NFL. So the fact that he's, probably going to get the most snaps this week isn't a good sign for the Bills. I like Charles Clay, but not enough to be worried about him. This game could be a slaughter.
Yeah, it very well could. And you look at the Bills, I mean, not really in a position to throw the ball and play catch up. I mean, yes, they've made do with guys like Goodwin and Justin Hunter, but let's be real.
Like at some point, the scale has to tip. When you just have below replacement players at every position. They literally have below average players at every position. I mean, obviously the O-line's been doing pretty good this year, but yeah, it's ugly out there.
No, it really is. San Diego, you're looking at a punt defense here, 2,400, taking on a Broncos team that offensively, I mean, it's pretty much just the run game right now.
Yeah, and I just look at Trevor Siemian, and I just think, this is exploitable. Ever since, and again, we knew this when Joey Bosa was coming out of school. Like, he's going to change things for the Chargers, up front. And he certainly has, he's borderline defensive rookie of the year candidate right now, even only with a few games in. He's totally changed that defense. And I mean, I'm going to be excited for them next year. But as of now, their run defense is a lot better. I mean, considerably better. So I think that's something you have to factor in. If they're forced to throw, obviously they have Sanders and Demaryius outside, but the Chargers secondary isn't that bad. They've been forcing some turnovers. I at this price, I think they're a sneaky tournament play that nobody will be on. I mean, this is probably 1 to 3%.
Yeah, I think so. And I think this is a week where you can dive down. I mean, we've preached over the last really 7 weeks of kind of just paying up and locking guys in. But this one, I don't mind taking some shots down low, especially with the Chargers team that, banged up, but still kind of holding things together. I mean, they didn't play as badly as I thought last week against Atlanta, even though they did give up 30 points.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
So, any other takes here you got?
No, I gave my takes on this week's defense at the beginning. That's the general overview. Mildew. There's a mildewy smell coming from your trash can, and it's probably the defenses this week.
All right. Well, that sums it up. That's fair enough. So that's going to wrap things up with the DraftKings defense analysis for Week 8. Be sure to head on over to DaveFantasyCafe.com. Check out our great tools and content. If you like what we're doing with the podcast, be sure to give us a subscribe and throw us a thumbs up as well.